Okay. So yeah, Gayatri, shall we start? Are you ready? That's great. Okay, so good morning. So this is Navneet, Director for Innovation, KGiSL here. First of all, thanks for joining the session through both Zoom and YouTube. So this is organized by KGX. It's an innovation cell newly formed for both engineering and KG campus for incorporating innovation-driven, innovation-centric learning and engineering and product development and entrepreneurial skill development. So as a kickstart session, today we are going to dive into intro to design thinking. So design thinking is a concept which is practiced in a lot of startups and corporates and in engineering domains to solve problems. And we have our special guest, Gayatri Gautam. She's expertise in this design thinking and innovation area, and she's also working in that. So first of all, thanks for accepting the invite, Gayatri. It's a pleasure hosting you. I'll just give a short intro about Gayatri. So Gayatri did his bachelor's in electronics and communication engineering from Kumaraguru College of Technology, Coimbatore, and then she pursued master's in management from Technical University of Munich, Germany. So while doing her master's, she got interested in design thinking studies, and so she did a thinking certification course from Hasso Platter Institute, a D school from Germany. So currently, she is working as a program manager for innovation team at Campus Founders, Germany, and I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to the session. And again, thanks for the invite and stay tuned. Participants, you can ask your questions and not to interrupt the session. You can drop it in the chat box. So maybe in the mid or in the end, take those questions. And please be interactive because everyone are putting effort just to add more value to your learning, to your knowledge and stuff. Okay. So I know it's early in the morning. Even for us, it's pretty hard to join a meeting by 9 a.m. and it's 5 a.m. for Gayatri from Germany. So yeah, be involved, be cooperative, be interactive as well. Okay. So over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you, Navneet. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining on this morning, on a Saturday morning. But I definitely appreciate each and every one of you who are here, who are eager to learn about this topic. And I will just move on to my presentation. So just let me know if you are not able to see or if you can't hear me so that I can stop in between and go on. All right. So yes, I'm Gayatri and I did my engineering in India. And as you know, not all of us, we pursue our engineering degree after we finish. I actually worked as part of a student organization in Kumaraguru where I worked with the program management team. And I realized, okay, engineering is not the right one for me. So I wanted to do or learn more about management. And that's why I decided to master's in management from Technical University of Munich. And once again, while I was doing my management, I got interested in another topic called design thinking, which I haven't heard when I was in India. But in Europe, it was already a buzzword going on. And I wanted to know what design thinking is about. So that's why I did my course from Hasso-Plattner Institute. So this is the design school of thinking is actually based in Stanford. And another branch of the Stanford one for Europe is based in Berlin. And that's the one which is called as HPI. So here I did my design thinking course, and I am also working with campus founders for like 2 years now, where I am applying about what I learned at HPI, like the design thinking itself. To give a short intro about my job at Campus Founders, I am a program manager there. So we are basically an startup incubator and accelerator, and we are trying to instill the entrepreneurial mindset in the region that we are, and also bring out as many as startups that we can. So here we kind of work with inspiration and educating people with design thinking methods, and also things needed for them to become an entrepreneur. And yeah, this is my personal information. My hobbies are I like to paint and I like to work with origami, and I would be happy to connect with everyone over LinkedIn. So what is design thinking? I think in the recent months or years, design thinking has become a buzzword in India as well. Oh, sorry. Okay. One more thing about my introduction that I would like to give is I'm from Coimbatore and my parents are still there. And I also visited Coimbatore 3 weeks back. So I will be visiting, now and then. And my sister is still studying there. So I got to learn from her. She's also studying in KCT, and I got to learn from her in the recent times a lot about design thinking, also used in her university. Like when I was doing, none of us, we heard about design thinking. But I think now it's kind of extensively being spread everywhere, just like in Europe. And I'm really happy about this because now this is also coming to India. And I hope in future years, this becomes a trend in the companies as well in India, and they start using it. Because right now, even the big size companies, they are not using design thinking much in their daily work. But if they will be using this design thinking, it's going to be a big change. So I would like to know from some of you what you already know about design thinking, what you have heard. It can be right or wrong. You don't have to be afraid of what you're saying. You can just tell me what you interpret or what you know about design thinking. You can unmute yourself and just give me answers.
By seeing the two words, I personally feel that design thinking is a methodology to develop concepts. And it's more kind of logical and a cognitive approach to solving a problem.
All right. Okay. Interesting. So here I am showing you some companies which are already using design thinking. So as you know, most of the companies, they have innovation team within them. And this innovation team, what they do is they try to apply design thinking to whatever their company is making, be it a product company or a service company. And they try to use design thinking there in order to come up with user-centric solutions or to identify what the user wants. So these are like the big players, just so that you can identify very quickly. These companies have also implemented design thinking process in their daily business. And you know why these companies are successful. I wouldn't say that only design thinking is making them successful, but of course their marketing, everything is making them successful. But where do they get their innovative strategies of marketing? Where do they get their innovative strategies of coming up with new products or services? It's from the application of design thinking within their company. So coming back to the question, what exactly is design thinking? So design thinking is a new innovative thinking for complex problem solving, which means as human beings, we have always started with solutions. So if you ask me, okay, I want to become an entrepreneur, and then immediately we will think about solution. Nobody ever has started with a problem, thinking about a problem like, okay, what my customer or user exactly wants, but rather we always think about or come up with solutions, but we don't think if the solution that we have come up with has ever solved a problem. You know, I remember back in my engineering days, we had to do projects, of course, And yeah, we came up with different projects. But now when I look back, I cannot tell if those projects actually solve any kind of user problem or so. I mean, it got me good grades at the end, but then it does not make any value for the society or for the customers that we are trying to make money with. So we need to develop new ways of thinking in order to design better solutions, services, and experiences for our user and customer, and solve the current problems. It can be an existing problem, so you don't have to think that design thinking is like coming up with new random solution. It's not like that. It's solving the current ongoing problems in the world with a new kind of thinking from a new perspective. And design thinking, it will actually radically change how we look at the problem, how we explore the problem, and how we create solutions to this problem. And most importantly, it's about creating a user-centric design. So I don't know if you've already heard about a human-centered approach, but I would say, so design thinking is actually a process. But why we need this process is to go for a human-centric centered approach. So what is a human-centered approach? So human-centered design or a human-centered approach is a problem-solving technique that puts the real people at the center of the development process, enabling you to create products or services for them. So this is more like understanding what my user or customer exactly wants. So I am trying to understand their problem better and then creating solutions for them. In front of your mind while you create solutions for them. And what you get in turn. So you might think, okay, now it's going to be a different solution and not the solution that I had in mind, which will not make me happy, but that's not true. So in turn, when you design solutions for your user or customer, depending on their pain points, then in turn, you get, of course, more profit because your customer is happy at the end, and your business is definitely going to boom because you're making a product for your customer. You have seen Apple. Why are we so crazy about Apple products? It's not just the branding of Apple, but of course, the phone itself. They sit and think what the user exactly wants. I wouldn't say all the features thought about in an Apple phone or something is made for the user itself, but then they have definitely created a solution when they first introduced their smartphones, keeping in mind what the user wants. So one tip here would be to go back to Steve Jobs' introduction about the first iPhone, I would say. You can see how he is pitching about his product. He wouldn't even introduce about this product as a phone initially. He would be telling that, okay, now we have integrated an iPod, Google, the maps to navigate, and a phone to call somebody. We have integrated all of these three things in one product, which is called as the iPhone. So the way he kind of created buzz about what the user exactly needs and making them happy has made Apple a successful product so far. I would like to show you a short video about bad design so that you just not learn or you just don't hear from me what a good design is, but you should also know what a bad design is.
There's this door on the 10th floor of the Vox Media office that I hate so much.
God damn it. You ever get this door wrong?
Pretty regularly.
Have you seen people misuse it?
All the time, every day. constantly. I hate this door.
Me too, Kelsey. But here's the thing. As soon as you start looking for confusing doors, they are everywhere.
It's push.
Why?
I feel like Roman Mars would know about this.
This is 99% invisible. And those doors you hate are called Norman doors.
What's a Norman door?
Don Norman wrote the essential book about design. He is the Norman of the Norman door.
All right, and where is this guy?
You must go to San Diego.
Okay.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, I'm Don Norman. It's hard to describe what I am.
Well, he's been a professor of psychology, professor of cognitive science, professor of computer science, a vice president of advanced technology at Apple. But for our purposes,
I was spending a year in England, and I got so frustrated with my inability to use the light switches and the water taps and the doors even, that I wrote this book.
If I continually get a door wrong, is it my fault?
No. In fact, if you continually get it wrong, is a good, and if other people continually get it wrong, good sign that it's a really bad door.
a Norman door is one where the design tells you to do the opposite of what you're actually supposed to do, or gives the wrong signal and needs a sign to correct it.
Why does it need an instruction manual? That is, why do you have to have a sign that says push or pull? Why not make it obvious?
It can be obvious if it's designed right.
There are a couple of really simple, basic principles of design, and one of them I'll call discoverability. When I look at something, I should be able to discover what operations I can do.
The principle applies to a whole lot more than doors.
And it's amazing with many of our computer systems today. You look at it, there's no way of knowing what's possible. Should I tap it once or twice or even triple tap? So discoverability, when it's not there, well, you don't know how to use something.
Another is feedback.
And so many times there's no feedback. You have no idea what happened or why it happened.
And these principles form the basis of how designers and engineers work today, commonly known as user or human-centered design.
I decided at one point the word user was a bit degrading. Why not call people people? And it's amazingly simple and amazingly seldom practiced. We call it iterative because it sort of goes around in a circle. We go out and we observe what is happening today. We observe people doing the task. And from that, we say, oh, we have some ideas. Here's what we should perhaps propose to do.
Then you prototype your solution and test it.
Quite often, these are wrong at first. But each time we go around the circle, we do a better job of making the device until the point we're actually making something that really works.
And this process has spread all over the world.
And it turns out it's improving lives.
From better everyday things like the ones that Don wrote about,
to using the same process to solve huge problems in public health in developing countries.
Water,
sanitation,
farming,
lots more. So what'd be a better human-centered door?
An ideal door is one that as I walk up to it and walk through it, I'm not even aware that I had opened the door and shut it. So if you had a door which had a flat plate, what could you do? Nothing. The only thing you can do is push. So see, you wouldn't need a sign. A flat plate, you push.
This kind of push bar with the piece sticking out on one side works well too, so you can see what side you're supposed to push on.
The vertical bars could go either way. A simple little hand thing, though, sort of indicates pull.
But we still have terrible, terrible doors in the world. So many of them.
There are lots of things in life that are fairly standardized, and therefore, whether I buy this house or not is not a function of whether it has good doors in it. And so, except for safety reasons, doors tend not to be improved.
But the tyranny of bad doors must end.
I think that it's a really...
All right. So I think you have seen an example of bad design now. And we have also come across a lot across these doors everywhere. So, of course, this product is definitely existing in market. But then if you ask me if they are user-centric or user-friendly, then they're definitely no. I mean, if your product or solution is going to frustrate your user or customer every day at the end, then it's definitely not a good design or a good product. So the main important thing that you have to keep in mind is that you need to develop solutions for your user or customer, which is important. I don't know if you've heard about this phrase. So your customer is your king, and you need to satisfy your customer or user. So this is the design thinking process, which we kind of follow when you will be applying design thinking to your problem or anything that you're working on. So I would say design thinking is, so if you see here from the picture without these arrow marks, you can see that design thinking is like a linear process. So starting from scoping the challenge or the problem and going on to testing your solutions. But it definitely is not a linear process. So when you think about design thinking, it's just not a process, but more of a mindset, because it is an iterative process, which means when you start understanding the problem, you kind of work on the problem or do research on the problem so that you can define the problem better. And then you will go to solutions and then prototyping and then testing. But you should be open, or you should have that mindset to go back to any one of these parts during the process anytime, which means when you are at the stage of defining your problem, then you should be open to go back to once again. So when you're defining the problem, you still don't understand the problem well, or you still think, well, my user or customer, they don't have a problem at all with this. So then you need to go back to scoping the challenge. You have to try to understand the problem better. You should be open to going back. And this should be the case even when you're testing your prototype. When you're testing the prototype, it means you have come a long way, because you have come up with your solution, you have developed your prototype, and then now you are in your testing phase, which means it's going to be hard to kill your own baby, but then you should be doing it. That is design thinking process. So when you're testing out your prototype or solution, so testing basically means you go out to your potential user or customer, you show your prototype to them, like whatever you have in your hand or app or whatever you have, and then you try to test this with them. You ask them to go through the app, you ask them some questions. What do you think about the app? Does it solve your problem or whatever? And if your user is not happy with this, or if your user is just partly happy with your solution, then fine, you go back to the rapid prototyping phase in order to iterate on your solution so you can come up with a better solution. But if you find that your people whom you're testing are not at all happy with your solution, or they think that this is a useless solution, then you either go back to your ideation phase, or you definitely need to go back to the first stage where you have to do more research to understand your problem better, or even to understand if there is a problem at all. Because, for example, I come up with a solution, I go out for testing, and then later on I realize, okay, this is actually not the problem that I'm trying to solve for my user. I need to think from a different perspective, because they have a different need, and this need is something that needs to be solved, whereas I am working on something different. So this is a completely iterative process, and you need to iterate to come up with a good prototype or a good solution at the end. And I would say this is so different from our usual norm, our daily lives, or even our educational system. We are so much into this linear way of learning, going up, up, up. But then we don't feel comfortable coming back to learn our basics. So right now, or let's take engineering as an example. In first year, when you have to learn the basics of maths, or go back to what you learned in 10th or 12th, it's so frustrating. but then it is important for us, and that's why it's part of our education. And now if you ask me, to go back to my basics, it's still going to be frustrating for me, and it's part of the process. It's the same with design thinking. When you are at the end of the process, and if you have to go back, it is definitely going to take us out of our comfort zone, and it is not going to be comfortable. But then when you get used to this process, and when you get out of your comfort zone all the time, then you get used to this and you master the design thinking process. So you definitely have to have this open mindset to get into this and go through the process. I would say now, definitely, after applying design thinking for such a long time, now even when I am working on my projects or my programs at my company, I don't feel bad when I have to go back to the first step. I think, okay, it is part of the process. I need to do this to come up with a better solution that is more user-centric. For example, we do a lot of educational programs. We gather as much as feedback as we can from our potential users or customers when we do the first run of the programs. And then for the second run, we already try to implement this feedback that we receive from our user or customer and change as much as we can so that it makes it more user-friendly and more attractive to them. And we directly see the results, because the first year we had 100 applications. The second year we have 300 applications, because we kind of implemented the feedback and we made it more attractive to our users and customers. So if you are going to follow this design thinking process, it is definitely going to make the world better, because you are simply making solutions for people and you are solving their problems. And it's going to bring out amazing business opportunities for people who want to become entrepreneurs. And it's going to make good solutions for the existing companies, like the big players who are there already making solutions for people, but we don't know if the solutions are exactly working or not for the people. So from these companies, we are going to get amazing solutions simply because they implemented design thinking inside their company. To give you a quick glance about each stage of design thinking. So I think you have also seen this in the video. It was very short, and he would have explained something like going in circles, and this is what it is here. So you start with understanding the problem, which means first what you have to look out for is not solution, but look out for problems. So look out, try to understand what are the problems currently with people. It can be anything very, very small. So after this, I will definitely go on into some of the design thinking examples, but here to give you a glimpse of it, I would say we all know about Oral-B, the toothbrush. So, I mean, we have been having toothbrushes for a very long time, but then Oral-B found a problem that all of their users are not the same, because not all of us are of the same age. So people who use toothbrush are of different ages, and Oral-B, they try to understand that, okay, not all of our users are enjoying our product, and we need to identify what's going on in the market. So they try to understand their customers better, and they found out that the kids, they are definitely different users than the adults. So the toothbrush that we give or that's there in the market for the adults cannot be definitely used by the kids. And so Oral-B found out this problem with an existing product of theirs, which is like successful and going on in the market. But still, they found out this problem, and they with the help of the design thinking process, came up with a kid's toothbrush, which took their product to a different level. So it does not have to be like coming up with a new problem or so, but it can be a day-to-day problem that you are facing, can be anything. So just find out a problem, and it's not only that you find out a problem and then you directly go into thinking the problem. So if you see here, you have like 2 diamonds in the design thinking process. And the first diamond is completely about, so here it's completely about only exploration of the problem. You don't even think about the solution anywhere in the first part of the process. So it's completely about understanding the problem, understanding your target group better, your users. So if you do research on your problem, trying to understand, you also need to understand in this phase who could be your potential customers or users. For example, so the problem for Oral-B, if you see, it is people or human beings who want to clean their teeth every day. And in the first go, when they came up with the solution, they had in mind as the potential target user or customer is just human beings. So it can be anyone, any human being. And then they released their product. Of course, it was a success. But then later on, when they iterated on their process, so they came back to the problem phase. So now they have a solution, they have a prototype, they have a successful product in market. But then they came back to the problem, and they once again wanted to understand who all are involved in their target user or customer group. And then they found out, okay, human being as a whole is not a target group, but rather old people, mid-aged people, youths, and kids. So all of them belong to different age groups, and all of them are individual target groups. We cannot definitely put them together. So it's very, very important that you understand your problem. And oftentimes when you understand your problem very well, you don't have to go back a lot in your design thinking process. But if you are in a hurry not to understand your problem well, and if you are in a hurry to go into your solution space, then I would say chances are high that you need to come back to your problem phase in order to understand the problem better. Because when you go into this part of the diamond here, then you may realize, oh, I haven't understood the problem very well now. So I'm really not sure what I am solving or what I am working on. So, and also these diamonds represent converging and diverging. So which means when you are working on scoping the challenge and understanding the problem, you are trying to diverge, which means you are opening up the topic and you are going deep into the topic by doing like research and so on. I will come to that in the later part. And yeah, this is diverging, which means you are going deep into the topic. And then when you have understood a lot about the topic itself, you try to converge back to define your problem better, because you cannot have a very broad problem which will take you nowhere. So you definitely need to converge back to define a specific problem. Because when you go into problems, it can go deep. It can take you nowhere, or it can take you somewhere. So it would be very important when you are defining your problem, you kind of define your problem statement in a way that you, specifically choose a topic which is not too narrow, but then it gives you the space enough to come up with solutions. And you also identify your potential target or user group at this phase. So this is more of converging. And once you define your problem, we go into the solution space. which means ideation. I am not sure if you have heard about this word yet. So ideation is basically coming up with ideas. It's creating solutions to the problem that you have identified. So once again here, if you can see, you ideate solutions, and then once again, we are converging. So we are going wide here, which means we kind of explore this idea or solution that you have come up with. You go deeper into your solution, you create prototype for your solution. And then after doing this, we once again converge back, which is when you test your prototype or when you test your idea. So testing is not just testing your prototype itself, but rather testing your idea. Because you are actually testing with the customer or user you have identified here. If your solution or idea that you found out here is working or not. So testing phase is like where you converge back and you see if everything makes sense, that you know what you did from here until here. So this is about the design thinking process itself. So what exactly are we doing in this process? So as I told, we kind of create user-centric solutions, which means we kind of bring together all the three aspects of what I've mentioned here, which is human values, technology, and business. So we try to create a solution which is usable or desirable to our customers. We have to try to come up with solutions which are technologically feasible. So you have to keep in mind, you need to bring in all these three aspects when you create a solution. So it's not just a fancy solution, which is kind of liked by your user, but when you want to implement your solution, it's not technologically feasible just because the technology is simply not available yet, or the technology is outdated or so. So technological feasibility is also important when you build your solution. And of course, why are we doing this? It should have a business part, like it should be viable and it should be making profit for you at the end. Or if you want to be a non-profit as well, whatever is your aim or goal, that should be satisfied. So design thinking is the part where all or innovation, like human-centered innovation, is the part where all three circles combine and merge together here at the center. So this is where innovation happens. And you have to keep in mind that you bring in all these three aspects together when you create your solution. So of course, understanding your problem is the first part. Second part, when you think about solutions, you need to keep in mind all these three parts in mind. And often being engineers, when they design solutions, they always think about the technology part. And if you see a product team in a company, it comprises of design people, engineers, and business people. You may ask why, and why not just having engineers, because they have a lot of information or more knowledge about the product. This is the reason why, because engineers, they always think about technology, and if it's technologically feasible, and they create amazing solution and products. But if you ask me if it's desirable by the human or not, or if the design is like good or not, then it may be a no. So this is where people from arts and design should jump in and see if the solution is desirable or not by a customer. And the managers, they definitely think only about profits. They don't care what solution, if it's like technologically feasible or if it's like desirable by a customer or not. They just look into the picture if this is going to make money or not. So coming to this point here, design thinking, or when you apply design thinking, it is important that you just don't follow the process on your own, but it's very, very important that you are an interdisciplinary team. And this is what I explained in the previous slide, that people from different backgrounds should come together when you work on a product or service. And this is very, very important in companies who work on their own product or service. Especially, it does not have to be that the innovation team is diverse or coming from different background, but also a specific product team working on a specific product should also be diverse. They should definitely come from different backgrounds to satisfy all the three components that I just showed you. And also for our programs that we are doing at Campus Founders, we try to implement this. So we try to bring in people from all different backgrounds: engineering, management, arts and science, music. It does not matter what you have studied. It is important that a team consists of 4 to 5 people. That's also important. The team size should not exceed 6 people, I would say. At the maximum, it should be 6. And all these 6 people should come from a diverse background. It should be an interdisciplinary team. So these are the 3 core elements of design thinking, which is process, people, and place. Process, I just explained you, which is this iterative process that I showed you. People is what I meant now, which is working with cross-functional teams. And the place, which we might have never thought before. We think just working from, if you've seen corporates or offices, you see cubicle desks. And this is where, innovation or product is happening in most of the workspaces. But the place or the environment really, really matters. And this is not known to most of them. Here in Europe, this is becoming a trend. And we ourselves, we are like a co-working space. And we do apply design thinking. So we have such a fancy space here in Germany or in my office, where we kind of have an environment which kind of provokes your creativity when you do the ideation part, or when you work on this design thinking process. So the innovation workplace is very important, and I will show you in the next part how our workspace looks like. So yes, people and place matter. So the process is just a toolbox, which will help you now and then. It'll guide you on how to go about to come up with a solution which is human-centered. But the people and place is like really, really important. So this is a picture of how a co-creation space or design thinking applied space looks like. So which is more of like these whiteboards, high tables with high chairs, and we work a lot with Post-its. So you may ask, like, what is it different from the conventional chairs and tables that we have? This definitely makes a difference, because here you sit as a team together, and in cubicles you just sit individually. Or even if you go to a boardroom, you all the time sit together and there is no room for collaboration. But as well here, you move around, you move from one whiteboard to another, you enter your ideas on these Post-its on the board, and whatever idea that you have written on your Post-it, other people can read, they can make changes, they can add ideas or build ideas based on what you have written. And this kind of workspace gives room for collaboration. And in design thinking, this is very, very important, because first, if you are an interdisciplinary team, then you definitely need to collaborate. All these 5 people, you cannot be sitting in 5 different places and try to work on one product thinking that, yes, I'm following the design thinking process, it's more than enough. So we will come up with an amazing solution at the end of the process. That's not true, but rather it's important that this interdisciplinary team collaborates at the right place. So I am really looking forward that even in India, we have or such co-creation, co-working spaces are coming up in future, where more companies kind of use the space as their innovation hub or so to collaborate and work together on this design thinking process. So here I would like to give you an example to show you how design thinking has actually helped in a company, because so far you may think, okay, it's just theory. I need to learn this theory and I don't know how to apply. But here with this example, I can show you that it has been applied and it has definitely made a change. So we have all come across CT scanners. So we do definitely know, I wouldn't say we have personally experienced, but then we've seen them, we know them, what CT scanners are. And the person who invented or who came up with the CT scanner was so proud of his innovation or invention. And then he actually was like super proud that, okay, I have come out with such an amazing product, which is creating a revolution in the medical industry. He was really happy about this. And he wanted to observe how it's actually working with his customers. So he tried to go to a clinic or a hospital where this CT scanner is being used. And he tried to observe, what the doctors are doing, how it's working on the patients, how are the results coming up, if something needs to be improved in the product itself. So he wanted to check this, and he went to a clinic or hospital to find out this. And what he experienced there, it kind of changed his perception of looking at his own invention. And he was rather ashamed, I would say, of his invention, rather being proud until that point, because what he saw there was his invention. What he did, it actually was not user-friendly to the children who came there to do their CT scan. Because he saw the children who took or who went into this machine was so scared of this machine because of the noise the machine made, and also generally because of the experience itself of what the children are going through. This was like so traumatic for the children, and this was definitely not a user-friendly experience for the children. He saw like the children crying, not ready to go into the machine, the doctors, taking away the children from their parents to put them in the machine. And he was so unhappy about his invention. So he decided to sit and watch how this is actually going on. What is the problem? He found out the problem is not just with the machine making the noise. He could have fixed the noise in the machine, as soon as he saw children crying. He could have thought that, okay, this noise is making them scared, and we need to just make the noise quieter. So if it was I don't know, just a normal engineer not using the design thinking process, he would have fixed the sound first. But this person, he was more into design thinking, so he wanted to understand the problem better. And what he did was he tried to observe his users. So he sat in a children's clinic every day to understand what their problem really is. Why are these children crying? And are having this anxiety to go into this machine. So what he found out was the technology or the sound itself is not making them scary, but the process of coming into the CT scanner itself is making them scary, which is, starting from waiting at the clinic, going into this room, which is all like blue and white. The doctors who are, I don't know, wearing their dresses, wearing their masks, asking the children to come and sleep on this machine, and they don't know what is exactly going on with this machine because they don't know what's wrong with them, and they don't know what's going to happen in this machine. So this whole experience, the user experience of a child, was not comfortable or was not user friendly for the child. So what he tried to do to fix this problem was he created an experience, not a new different CT scanner itself. As I told, he did not fix the CT scanner, but he made the experience, he offered a new different experience for the children where they could enjoy the machine or the product more, which is he came up with this new whole setup. He made the CT scanner into a fun pirate ship, which is like the children are, going into the ship. They're sitting on the ship, and it's more like they're having a fun joy ride over the ship. So this whole experience of like waiting in the clinic, coming into this colorful room, everything was made so better. Children, when they look at colors, when they look at this new setup, they get excited, and they exactly don't know, as I told before, they exactly don't know what's going on. But rather with this setup, they were like, they're enjoying a ride on a fun pirate ship, and they did not even know that a CT scan is being made on them. And so he just did not stop here. He made the solution, and he was like, he did not think my job is done, the children are happy. He once again came back to the clinic, sat there every day to make observation how the children behave now after making this change. And what he realized was the children, they don't suffer any more anxiety, they don't cry anymore to go into this room, and the satisfaction scores went up to 90%. So this also definitely improved the CT scan result itself, because the children are happy, they're not moving around here and there, which gave perfect result at the end. And he has also quoted like one quote from his experience was, one of the kid, he asked his mom, can we come back again here tomorrow to experience this once again? So this one made him really happy, and now he thought that, okay, my job is done here. So it's not just important that you come up with a solution, okay, an amazing product which creates a revolution, but also you need to make sure that it's user-friendly. So this is another example, which is a real-time example, which kind of made a social impact, I would say. So you would have heard about premature babies who need to be in an incubator after their birth, and stay there for a couple of weeks until they are healthy to go back home. And there was a team set up from Europe, a very interdisciplinary team consisting of an engineer, business person, and a person from arts and science, and so on. A very interdisciplinary team was set up, and they heard about this problem going on in Nepal, that most of the babies are dying there because they don't have good incubators, or they are not able to be kept in incubators, and the premature babies are not doing well. So this team, they could have come up with solutions sitting in Europe, and trying to sit and think what kind of problem is going on. In fact, I think they did, like they tried to understand the problem. They were like, okay, we need to create a new incubator, which is like more user-friendly and supporting the babies in a good way. But then it eventually failed. So what they did was they flew to Bhutan, to Nepal, to understand, to observe and immerse themselves in what the parents are facing, what exactly is the problem, to understand the problem better. And what this team observed was they observed every day in Nepal what's happening with these premature babies. And what they identified was the problem was not with the incubator itself, but the problem was the hospitals or clinics were really far away from the villages of where these people lived. And these parents, they could not travel every day to these hospitals to keep their babies in the incubator, or they were also not able to leave their babies in the hospital alone and come back to their village, because they did not also have accommodation in the hospitals or nearby. And this kind of separated the mom and the baby for a very long term, and this created frustration. So none of the parents, they wanted to leave their babies in these incubators alone. So this problem was identified by this team, and they came to know, okay, the problem is actually not with the incubator itself, but the process of traveling and coming back for the parents is like so stressful that they don't even want to leave their babies anymore in those incubators. So what solution that they came up with at the end of their design thinking project or whatever was they created this incubator bag for the babies. So this bag is very similar to the incubator that is at the hospital, but it's also, as you can see, the parents or the mom, she does not have to be in the hospital itself. This can be used anywhere, wherever the mom is. So this bag can be with the mom in the village, having the baby in it, and this works exactly the same as the incubator in hospitals, which means it kind of treats the premature babies and keeps them warm and makes them healthier in a couple of weeks. So this eventually increased the satisfaction of the parents, the lifespan of the babies, of course. And yeah, this was a huge success in the developing countries. And also, in fact, the cost of producing this incubator bag was very, very cheap compared to the cost of creating the actual incubator in the hospitals. So this was a very life-changing social impact product or solution that was created by making use of the design thinking process. So I would say these are just like some of the examples, like two of the examples that I mentioned. But as you know, a lot of companies, they are using this process in their day-to-day life to make their product and services better. And here I have design thinking mindset. So as I told you earlier, it's not just important that you follow the process, but you need to have this design thinking mindset where you are open to collaboration with different people. So I'm not sure in India if you have the opportunity to meet people from different cultures, but here in Europe, you definitely have this opportunity. So it's not just interdisciplinary team we have, but also intercultural team. So it is like super diverse, working with people from different cultures. So I would say it's also hard because, you know, the way of talking, the way they behave, everything is different with people coming from different cultures. So you need to be open to collaborate with people, and you shouldn't be in the mindset that whatever you tell is right, but also have the mindset to listen to others' solution or whatever they are offering. And then so here it's mentioned as, yes, and. So whatever they tell idea or anything, you need to agree, like tell them yes. And if you have something to add on, or if you disagree, then continue after telling and telling that, okay, this is what I know from my experience, but I disagree with whatever you tell. And be open to the iteration mindset, because as I told you, you can go until the end of the process, but then you should be open to come back to the start. You should be always open to this. And today we don't have a design thinking workshop, but then in a typical design thinking one-day workshop or so, if you see, you are often time boxed, which means you will always be under pressure. Like when you come up with, or when you are in the ideation phase coming up with solutions to your problem, you will have only 10 minutes or so. And this has been proven when you are like under time constraint, when you are time boxed, you are more creative and you do come up with a lot of solutions. So you will come up with the same exact number of solution, even if you are given 1 hour or 2 days, and or if you are given those 10 minutes. So you need to have this in mind, to time box yourself when you are working on this design thinking process and not get lost without having a time constraint for yourself. And important elements for innovation are the right mindset, interdisciplinary team, and the right environment. So these three things are really, really important when you want to create something new. So here, once again, we are back to the process. And here, the first part is understanding the problem. And today we will be going through this process, and starting here with understanding the problem will be the first part. So today we will not be, doing research or so, but rather we will try to understand this first part of this diamond here in this process. And then later on, we will move on to the second half of the process, where it's coming up with solutions and rapid prototyping and testing. So the first part is to understand your problem and defining your problem statement. So when you start, this is how it's going to look like. The first phase, the research phase, is going to be super foggy. You will not have a clear picture at all. And you can see uncertainty. And when you are, doing research on your problem, you will definitely see some patterns. You will definitely gain a lot of insights. But still, if you ask me, all the time in your team, you will continuously be talking, oh my God, it's so confusing. It's so foggy. I really cannot understand the problem. I don't know what I'm doing. So this is totally natural. You don't have to be scared of this. When you start with the design thinking process, and when you are in the state of, being super uncertain, not clear, then it means you are on the right track, because nobody understands the first part. They are always trying to figure out as they go through the process. So, at this stage is like when they are defining the problem, they are sure they're coming to a point, or they are trying to understand the problem, and they're coming to a point that, okay, now maybe I have understood the problem better. Maybe it's getting a little bit clear. So let's define the problem statement here, and then they will go into ideation, coming up with solutions. And even here, people will be confused. They will be like, I don't know if this solution is making sense or not. It's still so confusing. This is totally normal. You don't have to be scared of this at all. And once you have your solution, you try to work on your prototype. And after creating your prototype, you go into testing. And when you are testing, is the part where things become a bit more smooth, a bit more clear. And when you are testing, then you kind of get even more clear insights and focus on what you are working on. And if your solution or your prototype is kind of good and it gets only minor changes from testing, then you go back to your prototyping phase to iterate on your solution or prototype to make it further better. And yeah, the last part I would say would be clear, and you will have good focus over there. So now we are going into the first part, which is the problem part, or where you try to understand your problem better, which is also the most not clear and the fuzzy part, I would say. And how can you understand your problem better? So you have a problem right now and you are trying to understand your problem, and you are lost. So how should you understand your problem? This can be done by interviewing, observation, and change of perspective. And you may ask, what is this? What is doing interview? What is observing? And what is change of perspective? So these three are basically elements of qualitative research. So how you are going to understand your problem is by doing research. With the current existing data, you are simply going to do desktop research, going into Google, doing some research. So this is one part. Apart from doing this kind of research, you can do these three elements as well. So we will start first with interview. What is exactly doing interview, or what can you find out from your interviews? So once you have your problem, you are trying to understand your problem, you want to discover more about your problem, which means here you identify your target customer or user, or anyone who is related to the problem, who you think would be related to the problem. You go to them, you do interview with them to get to know about their problem better. For example, you are working on a problem which is, what are the struggles of an international student in Germany? And you are sitting in India. So how can you understand the problem better? This is by doing interview with the students who are studying actually in Germany, because then you can get a lot of insights from them. What are they, what is the problem? What is their daily life? What are they undergoing? And what are the troubles and how can this be solved? So interviewing is a very important part in research, I would say, because when you do your interviews with people, you are actually talking with the people who are experiencing the problem. So you are going to gain a lot of insights about the problem. And it's also important how you do the interview, because the kind of questions that you ask in the interview will help you to learn more about the problem itself. So in your interview, it's going to be like you are going to listen to people's views, their emotion, and you are going to see the reality of the problem. So, sitting in India, you might assume, okay, maybe the weather is the problem for them. Maybe the language is the problem for them. We don't know. You will never know. You will just have a lot of assumptions. And when you talk to this person itself, you will come to know what exactly is the problem, what is the real problem, and what is actually bothering the people. I wouldn't say everybody is going to give you a similar answer. What is interesting in interviews is that when you interview 10 to 15 people, you will see, you will get definitely different answers from different people. But then at the end of the interviews, so I will also come to that part, after all this research phase, you will synthesize your research, where you will go back to the answers given by them. You will sit and see what are the patterns that's coming out of these interviews. And if you see at the end of 10 interviews or 15 interviews, you will definitely see a pattern there. Even though when people are giving you different types of answers, it doesn't matter. At the end, you will find from all of these answers, you will definitely find a pattern. And this pattern is going to be the root cause for the problem that you are working on, or is the actual problem for everyone. So here I've given a structure about the interview process itself, just as a guide for you to know. We will not go deep here, but can be useful for you in case if you are doing interviews with your potential customers or users. So always start with the introduction. So this phase, you can go even up to, for example, we keep the interview as like 40-minute session, and it's important that you have this 30 minutes to 40 minutes interview session, because only then you can go deep into the topic, gain more insights, and come out of the interview. And out of this 40 minutes, this introduction part, I would say, keep it at least 10 minutes, because you would ask me why this is important. Why should my introduction and their introduction be important? It is important because this first 10 minutes of introduction is going to be the part where you make the other person, the interviewee, warm and open to your questions. This is the part where you're going to make them comfortable to answer your questions. Otherwise, if you don't make them comfortable or warm enough, they are going to give you superficial answers to the questions that you are going to ask. And they are not going to give you very detailed answers. They will be like, if you ask a question, they will just tell you yes, no, and that's it. They will not elaborate or give you deep answers. And after your introduction, you go into open-ended questions, which means, asking them questions in a way where they don't end up with yes or no. So if you ask them questions which are close-ended questions, which means, have you had coffee or tea today? They will tell you coffee, or they will tell you tea. So which means these questions already have answers in them, and you will not get any new answers or new information or any further information from such kind of questions. Or if you ask them, so which is your favorite drink and what have you had so far? Then they're going to talk about their favorite drink, and they're going to tell you what their favorite drink is. So this is going to spark conversation, and this is going to take you deeper into conversations. So after you start asking open-ended questions and you build a rapport with them, and you start with this interview process, then you try to gain depth into the topic, which will be very, very important for you to understand the topic itself better. So when you gain depth, this is the part where you get deep answers from the people, where they talk more emotionally and, telling their problem itself. And at this part, you need to be very, very vulnerable. You need to, behave in a way that you understand their problem. You are telling them, okay, we will find a solution together, and so on. So once you've gained depth, you can go down because you have heard whatever you want to hear, and then, finish up the interview, and also promise them that you will update them once again about what is coming out as a solution that you are working on, so that, they feel that, okay, they just did not use me, but rather they will be updated about the outcome. The second part is observation, which is also part of this qualitative research, as I told you. What is observation is, as you can tell from the name, you simply observe your user or customer. We talked about this in the example that I mentioned earlier. So be it this person, this guy who invented the CT scanner, he went into the clinics and he observed why the children are scared to get into his CT scanner. Be it this interdisciplinary team who flew from Europe to Nepal, they also observed. They observed the parents with these premature babies, and they observed to see what is exactly happening. We will often underestimate observation part, but this is the part which helps you the most when you are trying to understand the problem. Because in this part, you try to observe your potential user or customer or the person who is having the problem. And through this, you get a very deep understanding about the problem to see what is exactly bothering this person. So when you observe, you need to look carefully. So when you do interview, you need to listen carefully because you get more insights. When you do observation, you have to look carefully. Look carefully at the behavior of the user. And by this, you kind of discover the world of your user, what they exactly experience. So it can be anything. Just take any random product. For example, you came up with a product, I don't know, like a tea bag or so, and you want to know if this is a successful product in the market, if people are liking it, how is it being sold, how attractive is your marketing. You cannot find all of this by just sitting in your fancy office, just looking at the numbers and checking if it's successful or not. What you have to do is you need to go to the supermarket. You need to see how the product is working. You need to observe why your customers are not taking the product. What is the problem? It can also be that your product is left very far behind in the shelves of the grocery store. This could also be a problem. It's not even the problem of your product, but rather how your product is positioned in the supermarket. So try to observe your user or customer. What is their behavior pattern? Why are they behaving in this way? And through observation, you can get a lot of insights. And here, you don't even have to disturb anyone, by talking to them or asking them questions. It's just simply observing them. The third part is change of perspective. This is also very, very interesting part where you can gain a lot of insights, because simply because here you are going to be the user itself, which means you try to get into the shoes of your user or customer and experience yourself what they're going through. So this is called immersion as well. You immerse yourself in the problem of your user or customer and identify the pain points of your user, which means you step into their shoes. So let's keep the same example that I'm creating product, which is a tea bag or a flavor of tea. And I went to the supermarket, I observed. The next thing, I would also like to immerse myself to see how my product is. So I'm going to make myself a tea with the tea bag that I have, given out as a product. And I'm going to see how this works. If the tea bag takes a long time in the water, like if it takes 10 minutes to create aroma in the water, whatever, you immerse yourself into the product or solution that you have created to understand what is the problem, or you immerse yourself in the problem itself to understand better what your user or customer is experiencing. For example, we take the example of you are trying to understand the problem of an international student in Germany. What you do is you fly over to Germany, you don't have to enroll yourself in a university, but do the daily things what a university student is doing here. Wake up in the morning, go walking to the university, buying grocery for yourself, do everything for yourself. And then when you immerse yourself, you will understand what these people are actually talking about. because even with interviews, you are only listening. And even then, you will be like, yeah, you listen, you try to understand. But when you immerse yourself, you yourself see the picture by yourself. So then you get to understand more. All right, so these three are the three different parts of qualitative research. And this is an image for immersion, because we all know this toy which is used for like children. From the people who created the product is an amazing toy, very pretty one, very attractive for children, for babies. The parents who buy this toy, it's as well very attractive. And that's why people are buying the toy for the babies. And here, as you can see, it's like they're talking, I love it. But then did anybody think about the user or customer's perspective? And this is what it looks like for the user, for the baby itself. And this is definitely not seen by anybody. I mean, if the person who created the product, if he had immersed in himself as a baby, and if he had immersed himself in his product, then he would have seen what is the view for the baby. And as you can see here, they definitely cannot do interview with a baby to see if their product is working or not. They cannot hear what is the problem from the baby by doing interviews. I cannot say that they can get a lot of insights from observation, because even if they observe, they can observe the reaction of the parents. And even if they observe the reaction of the baby is simply amused because the parents are shouting, they're happy, they're laughing. So you cannot also exactly observe what is exactly happening, if the product is a success or not. But through immersion, the person can actually see himself what the baby is seeing, or how well the product is and how amazing it is. And yeah, if he had immersed, then there would have been a change, but I think so far there is no change. All right, yeah, so that's the three different parts of doing research on your problem, to understand your problem better. And I would say it's important you do all three parts, because for the last example, as I told you, interview and observation wouldn't have helped them. So it would be important that you do all these three parts to understand your problem better. So what's the next step after you unpack your research, after you do your research? So after you do your research, you definitely need to unpack your research, which is like the synthesis phase. So basically in this stage, you kind of put together all the insights you have gained from your research. And what you do with your team is you try to find a pattern. So this can be you identify a pattern from your observation, from your interview, and from your immersion. When you put together all the answers that you have got from your research phase, and here, as I told, important environment, you kind of put them together on a whiteboard, on post-its. You can then you can all go through together on this whiteboard looking for patterns. Because with the post-its you can move them around, you can make clusters, and then you try to understand a pattern here, and you try to understand what is actual problem. And after this, you define your problem statement, because now it's easier, like from a very wide picture, you have narrowed down, and it's easier to define your problem here. So what happens after you define your problem? So your problem statement is still a problem statement, and using your problem statement, it would be difficult for you to come up with solutions or ideate to your problem statement. And in order to help you ideate or create solutions to your problem, we kind of have this intermediate step, which is called the how might we. which will help you to ideate or come up with solutions better, or it will help you to make your life easier. So you may ask me, what are these how might we questions? So how might we questions actually are smaller chunks of your problem statement. So you basically break down your problem statement into, I don't know, 1,500 different smaller problem statements. And from these 1,500 different problem statements, you as a team together, you vote on one how might we question, and you then pursue with this how might we question to come up with ideas or brainstorm solutions. So basically, if you brainstorm solutions to your bigger problem statement, then it can go out of hand, because then you can come up with, I don't know, a lot of solutions, which I would say are like very broad, and I would say they will be very broad. So to bring them, narrow them back, it would be helpful for you when you start with how might we question. So how might, for example, I will give you an example here. So your problem statement is, or your problem is, how do you understand, or what is the problem for the international students in Germany? So after you do research, you have identified several different problems, and you have got your insights here. And for your how might we questions, what you're going to do is you are going to make small little statements or questions from your problem statement, which is, how might we help Gayatri do a better grocery shopping? How might we help this person to have a better transportation experience to their university? So these are smaller chunks of your main problem, which is going to help you to come up with solutions. So out of these smaller chunks, or these different how might we questions, you as a team can pick one or two how might we questions at the end, which are like really inspiring for your team. And also make sure you don't divert here a lot, because it's very easy to go out of path and divert. So make sure you don't divert, and you pick two best how might we questions from the different how might we questions that you have brainstormed as a team together. And for these how might we questions, we will be creating solutions after this step. This is still in the problem phase, or the problem phase of the design thinking process. So here is an example of how and how might we question can look like. So this is a structure. So if you follow the structure, it will help you to phrase these how might we questions. So how might we include your user or customer, and then help or support and include the problem. So as I told you, how might we help Gayatri, which is your potential user customer, an international student, okay, not anymore, but students studying in Germany, help or support her to do and to have an easy grocery shopping experience, because this is a real problem for me. I hate to go outside and get my groceries. So so how might we questions are very interesting, and you create a lot of how might we questions to your main problem, which is how might we help international students in Germany. And when you make these smaller chunks of your problem, they help you to get more focus, and they help you, or they inspire you to create more specific solutions to your problem. And this is once again like, what should your how might we include? It should always have an action, which is like you want to improve or you want to redesign. So you can use these words here, and then always include your subject, your target group, who you are doing this for. Can be anything, here in our example, it's international students. or your specific subject itself, and what do you want to do, the outcome, change things, or you want to make things more fun, whatever. So these three are the important parts of your how my tweak question. And today we will not be doing how my tweak questions, but rather I have come up with a how my tweak question for you, which we will see after a short break, maybe. So I would say we can have a 15-minute break because we have had a long session now. So let's take a 15-minute break and come back after 15 minutes. I need to check what is the Indian time now to tell you.
It's 11:05, Gayatri.
Okay, then we meet back at in 15 minutes, which is 11:20.
Yeah, that should work.
All right. So see you all back at 11:20 then. Right, let's slowly get back from our break.
Yeah, Gayatri, we can start.
Okay. A second. Right, so we went through the problem phase first, where I told you how can you understand your problem better, how can you define your problem, and how can you do research to understand your problem or to understand your user or customer's problem better. So now we will be moving on to the solution part, where we need to ideate solutions to the problem that you've identified. And this solution will be prototyped and then later on tested with a potential customer or user. So this part we will be seeing now. As I told you, first we have a general problem statement, and then we break down this bigger problem statement into smaller chunks, which are the how might we questions. And usually what we do in a design thinking workshop, if you ask me, is we kind of do a session of brainstorming. After we have this general problem statement, we do a round of brainstorming for the how might we questions. Like in a team of 5 or 6, then you come up with, 20 to 50 different how might we questions. And after you come up with these different how might we questions, the team, they silently read through all of the how might we questions to see what the other team members have also written. And after you read through, we kind of do something called dot voting, which is each person in your team, you get 3 dots, and you vote on the 3 best how might we's that you think are like inspiring and you think has potential to follow. And all the team members in your team will do this dot voting, and then there will be a winner at the end where everybody has a favorite how might we question. And then you pick this 1 best or 2 best how might we question to pursue further with in your solution space. And after you have your 2 how might we questions, we go to brainstorming the solution ideas. So I will show you what is ideation now. So why do you basically ideate is because you identify your problem, or you identified your problem already. You do research on your problem, you understand your problem. And then after you identify a problem, what are you going to do? Now is the time where you have to create solutions to your problem. And now is a very interesting and exciting part, because as you know, I don't know if you remember already from the start of our session, I told you that as human beings, we are all always excited to come up with solutions and not deep dive into a problem. So whenever we talk about something, you will be like, I have an idea. I want to do this. I have something in mind, which is always a solution and an idea. But here I told you, you need to get out of your comfort zone, start with the problem, and then go into your idea or solution phase. So this is ideation, where you create solutions to the problem that you have identified. And I'm pretty sure this stage or this part, the solution phase, really excites and makes everyone happy, because finally you are coming up with a solution that you think is going to create a change or a revolution to your potential user or customer. It eventually, or it basically solves your customer's problem, which itself is, is going to make you happy. And here, if you see, this is a quote that the best way to have a good idea is to have lots of ideas. As I told you, if we had a design thinking workshop itself, then when we go into the ideation phase, we will ask you to brainstorm ideas, which is coming up with different solutions to the problem, the how might we question that you have as a team. And often here we will give you like, I don't know, 5 minutes or 10 minutes to brainstorm your ideas, which is with silent brainstorming. And it's always important to do silent brainstorming, which is you write down ideas silently for yourself on a sticky note. You write it down silently for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the given time for you. And then you put these sticky notes on the whiteboard, which is like, next to your table. And this applies to all the team members. And after you have silently brainstormed, then you share your ideas with your team, like you talk about it. But when you write down your ideas, you actually don't talk with each other. You don't have a discussion and you talk with each other, because this has been proven as a very efficient ideation technique. So if you ask me about ideation techniques, there are several. There are several ideation techniques where you can use them and come up with different solutions. So just to give you some examples, one is silent brainstorming, which is my favorite and which is also proven to get you creative ideas at the end. Another one is called as role storming. So in this ideation technique, we kind of give you or put you in different people's shoes. For example, I will give you different personalities like Donald Trump or Princess Diana or Elon Musk or Steve Jobs. And you have to think, if you were these personalities, how are you going to create solutions for the problem statement that you have? Because as Princess Diana, you might have different powers and, I don't know, different opportunities to create different solutions. And as Elon Musk, you may have different technology, a very creative brain to come up with different solutions. So through this role storming, you kind of take up the different opportunities that these people have. And if you were them, what kind of solutions will you come up with? Another technique is this doesn't have any specific name, but rather it's like taking different success attributes from the successful companies. For example, you will first brainstorm the different success attributes of companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, etc. So what is making these companies successful? What are the attributes making these companies successful? Let's take, for example, Starbucks. What is making Starbucks very famous and popular? I don't know how many Starbucks fans are here. I'm sorry if I offend you. So Starbucks does not have the best coffee, but then what is making them successful is they write your name on your coffee and they call your name, which is actually, I don't know, this attribute actually made Starbucks very, very successful, because this is a very new concept compared to any other coffee shops. So if you see, nobody else is doing this. So these tiny attributes, which is making each company successful, is first brainstormed by you. And then later on, you will use these attributes as inspiration and then brainstorm ideas for your own problem. So you take inspiration from those attributes and then you brainstorm solutions or ideas for your own problem statement. So there are multiple ideation techniques that you have, and you just need to Google and see what are the different ideation techniques, and there will be several. These are just few that I mentioned. But what I usually start with is silent brainstorming, which is very efficient and effective. And it's not a must that you just go with one round of ideation, but then you can go with several rounds of ideation. So once you have defined your problem statement, you can go into 2 or 3 rounds of ideation. And in these 3 rounds of ideation, you can use 3 different techniques so that you experience all 3 different techniques. And now I will show you what should be the ideation mindset that you need to have when you go into the ideation phase. Because often when we do these workshops, people are in the given 5 minutes or 10 minutes, people often think they even tell it out that, oh, I cannot come up with ideas in the 5 minutes time that you have given me. I am not so creative to come up with a lot of ideas in this time. This is a misconception, I would say, because this is not true. And there are also studies that tell people are not born creative, but it's at the way how you look at things, and it's at the way how you embrace things. So don't think for yourself that you are not creative. I cannot come up with creative solutions or ideas. It's just that people think differently and think from a different perspective. And you need to embrace this in the ideation session. As I told you, there will be time constraint. And this is very often done in all of the design thinking sprints or design thinking workshops. You are always time boxed, because when you are under pressure, under these 5 or 10 minutes, and when you are under pressure that you have to come up with a lot of ideas, your brain starts reacting and starts thinking very quickly and fastly, and you do come up with a lot of ideas. And this quote here is to tell you not to limit yourself to think that, yeah, I'm not creative, so I can only come up with 2 or 3 ideas in these 5 minutes that you've given me. So if a team consists of 5 to 6 team members, it is important that all of the team members comes up with lots of ideas in this specific time frame that we give for ideation. So as I told, let's go into the ideation mindset. In your first rounds of ideation, it will be very important that it's quantity over quality. So when you brainstorm the first ideation round or the second ideation round for solutions to your problem, go for quantity, more quantity. You need to brainstorm a lot of ideas here, and don't look for quality of the ideas, which means you sit and think for one best idea in those 5 minutes. This is going to kill your whole project. Rather, come up with crazy, I don't know, fancy ideas, 20, 30 different ideas in this 5 minute time. Because after ideation, you will be filtering your ideas. And at that time, you can filter your best idea, you can modify your idea into a better quality idea, you can build on others' idea and make it better. So it doesn't matter during the ideation session that you brainstorm for the best idea. So it's important that you go with more quantity over quality. And this is an example that it is easy to blow up a lot of balloons initially at the start, like you have a room full of balloons, and then it's easy to pop them out, because then you can discard the bad ideas that you have from the group of ideas. But if you just have like one balloon and sit and think if it's the best one, if it's of high quality or not, how do I make it better? And then it's going to get difficult to blow up more other balloons at the end when you're already done with this one solution that you have in mind. And keep in mind that there are no bad ideas. People think, what is other people going to think about me when I write down this idea? Are they going to judge me? Is this a good idea or not? You will have self-doubt about yourself, thinking, no, this is a bad idea, this will not work out. This is not true at all. And if people who have found so many things, like who has done inventions or innovations, if they had thought that their ideas were bad or if they were not good enough, then we wouldn't even have things that we have today. For example, the electricity, the light bulb. I don't know, the TV, the smartphones, the airplanes, anything would not have existed if people had thought that this is a bad idea. Only when they had, trust in their own solutions and ideas, they had the motivation to move forward. And that's why we have these amazing products today in the world. So please don't doubt yourself in the ideation phase. And this is research or a study about brainstorming. So what this research tells is that in the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes that we give you to brainstorm your ideas, the first 40 to 50 ideas that you brainstorm are like the brilliant or very exciting ideas that you brainstorm, the initial first set of ones. And then the in between 20 to 30 ideas are boring, or I would say even like stupid ideas that come out in between the 100 ideas that you brainstorm, for example, in the 5 minutes. And then the last set of 30 to 40 ideas are once again amazing ideas, are once again very, very, very creative and very exciting ideas. Why I'm telling this here is that you should not stop ideating or creating solutions in the middle of the 5 or 10 minutes that we give you. This is because then you come up with 20 to 30 good ideas, and then you stop your brainstorming. Just a moment. You stop your brainstorming here at stage where you come up with only boring ideas or ideas that are not useful enough. And when you stop here, then these brilliant ideas go missing. They don't come from you. This is actually a research study that has been proven, where they observe human beings when they brainstorm. So what I'm trying to say here is, it's important that you don't lose hope. You continuously brainstorm from the starting of the first minute until the end of the 5 minutes time that is given to you. And only when the timer goes off, you stop brainstorming. So you have to continuously write your ideas until the end of the 5 minutes, or the time given by the person who's facilitating the workshop. So here we have an interesting activity to do. So I told you we will not be brainstorming how might we questions, but rather I have framed a how might we question for you, which we will be working on now. So the how might we question that I have now is, how might we improve the online learning experience of the KGiSL students in times of the pandemic. I chose this how might we question. It's because I don't have to explain this more, or you don't have to do research more, because you are the user here and you have already immersed yourself in this topic for a very long time now. And I think we all can relate with this how might we question. We all can understand this how might we question. And yeah, maybe you can also take a few minutes to think about what are your pain points in this online learning experience. What is actually the problem? And I think you also have experienced the on-site classes, right? So you may know the difference between what are the advantages and disadvantages of this online class and compared to the on-site sessions. I do know there are some advantages, because I do have a sister who is taking online classes and she kind of enjoys, but I know there are disadvantages as well compared to your on-site classes. So just take a few minutes to think about what are the actual pain points, what are the disadvantages of learning online. It does not have to be right now. But what could be the disadvantages in future when you are looking for a job or when you want to do higher studies, or it can be anything. It can be anything that you think could possibly affect your future. So just think about the pain points, because you need to understand what are the pain points here with this how might we question, so that you can ideate solutions for this how might we question. So why I'm asking you to think about this a little bit is because the next activity is we will be doing together silent brainstorming. The people here in Zoom, I will share a link with you for online collaboration. Unfortunately, right now, even at Campus Founders, we are doing a lot of online collaboration because of the pandemic, and we are using this online tool, Mural, or at my office, we are using Miro to collaborate online using the post-its. But I am personally not a big fan of this, because as I told you, we need collaboration in person in a place which is attractive with whiteboards where you can collaborate together. But with the current situation, we have no other choice. So I have prepared something like this, a frame for you guys, and I will share the link to this Mural board to you in a second when I introduce you to this board. So here you already have post-its, so you don't have to create post-its. I quickly stop sharing here and share this screen with this board itself. So if you open the link that I'm going to provide you with, you will be taken to such a page where they ask you for your name or whatever. So you can add your name if you want, or you can just enter as a visitor. And then once you enter your board, so you can see a lot of post-its like this. And one quick function that I want to show you is here at the bottom. If you see, I think you can see my cursor, right? Okay. So here at the bottom, if you see, you have this.
Yeah, it's visible.
All right. You can see a small white box. Just in case if you move out somewhere else, you can see this green box. So just click on this green box and bring back to this rectangle. So you will be brought back to this frame. And if you want to zoom or zoom in or zoom out, you can just use the function here at the right corner. So just make sure you are like at the right frame and you can access these post-its. So what you have to do is you just need to double click on one post-it, and you will get this blinking cursor, and you can type your ideas. What we're going to do right now is we are going to silently brainstorm different solutions to the how might we question that I just told you. So how might we improve the online learning experience for you guys, since you are experiencing it in a better way? So yeah, think about what are the pains, and I can give you around 10 minutes to brainstorm your ideas. So yeah, give me a second to share this board with you. So I have sent the link in the chat. Please try to come to the board and let me know if the link works for you. All right, I can see people joining. So once again, the question is, how might we improve the online learning experience for you guys in a better way? So think about what is the pain and what is the problem that you are experiencing in the online learning sessions that you are having right now because of the pandemic. And just double click on one of these post-its and write down your ideas. I will set a timer for 10 minutes. And as I told you, continue to write down ideas on a lot of post-its because you have 10 minutes time. So just don't write one idea and leave it, but rather write as much as ideas as you can in the 10 minutes. Please don't stop in between. And everyone, please try to join the board and start writing. I think, how can this affect you, or how is it affecting you right now? How can this actually affect you in future when you have to find a job or so? So what are your pains? And then write down what could be the solutions for this. How can it, so these solutions that you write down now should make your life better. So it can be long online sessions without a break, like you don't understand anything. You don't have the opportunity to experience the practical classes. It can be any pain points, and maybe it can be your professors are not giving you enough breaks. It can be anything. Or maybe they need to use a whiteboard. And if you have written one idea, it is good, but write even more. And you can also read through others' ideas, what they have written, and you can build on their ideas as well, because we are aiming for collaboration and not competition here. Also think for like your future generations, how your solutions or ideas can help them, because this is going to be the same situation the coming years. I would say, I don't know, I can't promise, but then I would say most of the companies or universities are switching to hybrid learning. Even with my company, we have switched to hybrid learning. And you can know or you would have heard from a lot of companies now. So people who can be there on site can be there, who don't want to be there can join online. So think about your future, future generations as well, and create solutions or ideas for them. 5 more minutes left. Add as much as ideas as you can. All right, 1 more minute left. So this will be the last minute. Please continue to brainstorm. Okay, so now I can see a lot of ideas written here. Good job that you have done a very successful brainstorming session, and I hope the tool was easy for you to use. I would like to hear some of your ideas from you itself. So you can just tell me what you have written down, so others can also listen to you. Please feel free to unmute yourself and just speak up, because I did read some of them here, and I think they are amazing ideas. So please just share your ideas. No, nobody's gonna judge you, so just speak up.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes,
I'm
finish.
Dinesh.
Yeah.
My first idea is to create an online simulator where it feels like real school life. We can have avatars. We can go to class and listen.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think that this is already kind of ongoing topic right now, a very hot topic. So will be very, very interesting if somebody starts working with universities in India and implement this. You
And
can
my
also
other,
do your
yes, ma'am.
yes, Dinesh?
And my other idea is by giving reward for each task where students can show off.
Which is the gamification.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice, very interesting.
And my another idea is teaching lessons as an animation instead of presentations.
Yeah. So with these ideas, Dinesh, do you think more students will be interested to take up these online classes?
Can you come again, ma'am?
With these ideas, or by implementing these ideas, do you think more students will be interested to join the online classes?
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else who wants to share your ideas? Right. If nobody wants to share, then we can go back to our session. Okay. So we kind of did the ideation process now, which is silent brainstorming. As I told you, you can go through different ideation techniques. You can do 2 to 3 rounds of ideation, doesn't matter. You just have to do 1 round of ideation, and you can already see from your work, just in 1 round or 10 minutes of ideation session, you guys have come up with a lot of ideas. So you can imagine when you have 2 to 3 rounds of ideations and you brainstorm ideas, you can see for one specific how might we question how many ideas you are coming up with. So what do you do after ideation? So generally after ideation, which is like after the ideation rounds itself, you have 50 to 100 different types of ideas. And similar to what you do to the how might we questions, here we will be filtering the ideas. So this filtration can be done. So in terms of design thinking, you do have different tools or methods to filter your ideas. For example, you filter some of the ideas which are new in context, so which are like totally new, which haven't been implemented So you take away those group of ideas, you discard some of the ideas which are already existing. So you don't want to implement the ideas which are already going on because there's already a market there. So you discard those ideas. And then you might have some crazy ideas which need new technology to implement, or which is like hard to implement, with the current existing technology, with the current things that you have in hand. So you group some of these ideas, which are like hard to implement. So by filtering these ideas on such basis, you even more lessen the number of ideas that you have brainstormed. And now you may have like around 10 to 20 ideas, which are like easy to implement and, are also new in context. So these are the ideas that we are going to focus on because they are new in context and can be implemented. I wouldn't say easy to implement, but can be implemented. So from these 10 or 20 ideas, so if you have, after filtration, if you have just one idea under this quadrant or context, you can go ahead with one idea. You can pursue with that idea. But then if you have 10 to 20 different ideas under this group, which is like new in context and can be implemented, then what you do is similar to what we did with the how might we questions. Each person in the group, you get 3 dots or 3 votes, and you do voting for these to 10 to different 10 to 20 ideas. So each person has to vote for the 3 favorite ideas. And at the end of the voting session, what you will see is one clear winner. So there will be one best idea that everyone wants to pursue and further build on it. And when you have this one best idea from the group of ideas that you got from the brainstorming sessions, you are going to take this one idea forward to prototype. So prototype is rapid prototyping, which means you are not going to build a very high-tech, high feasible or high fidelity prototype or solution, but rather this is going to be a very low fidelity prototype. And rapid prototyping is something you can prototype very, very quickly and very fastly. So this prototype that you are building for your solution or idea can be using Lego, can be using Figma or something like that, which is like easy wireframe design. It can be also using cardboard. It does not even have to be using any electronic devices like Arduino or sensors or anything. So rapid prototyping, the main aim behind rapid prototyping is just to create a small low fidelity prototype of how your solution is going to look like, just to have the first picture of how your solution is going to look like. And afterwards, we will be using this prototype to test with your potential customer or user. So this prototype can be Lego, can be Figma, it can be anything, it doesn't matter. But you take out this prototype to test it with your customer or user. So you may ask me why we are already not building high prototype and just go with this low fidelity prototype. This is because we don't want you to waste a lot of time by building a best prototype or an MVP, and then later on test this to realize that, oh, the idea itself is not the best idea because it's not making your user or customer happy. So you have already lost so much of time in building or perfecting your prototype, which is not important. What we want is feedback from your customer or for your solution or for your idea that you have prototyped. So once you get your feedback from your user or customer in your testing phase, then you can go back and iterate on your prototype to make your prototype better. So when you go back, after testing, when you go back, you can build a better prototype, or you can build a minimum viable product out of your solution idea. So why we build this prototype in this phase is to validate your idea, which is you kind of have hypothesis in mind, which is like, I have a solution, but I don't know if the solution is going to make my customer or user happy. And when you just take out your solution without a prototype, for example, I go and tell my potential user or customer, okay, I have the solution to your problem. For example, let's take the example that you want to improve my grocery shopping experience, and you have found a solution. You are coming and telling to me, okay, I'm going to give you a solution. So it is like, we have designed a bicycle for you so that you can do easy grocery shopping. So if you are going to test or check if the solution makes your user or customer happy, you will never know. Even the customer himself or herself will never know if this is going to make him or her happy. So this is why you need a prototype. So you take a mock-up or a prototype and you give it to me and you ask me to try this bicycle to do grocery shopping. So either I ride the bicycle to my grocery store, I experience the prototype, and then once I experience the prototype, I can give you feedback for your idea if it works or not. So if I really like your idea, if it really helps me, I will tell you changes to your prototype and not your idea. I will tell you, well, this is an amazing idea. I really love the idea of having a bicycle or having the bicycle that you've designed for me to the grocery store. And yeah, I just need these changes here and there. But if I don't like your idea itself, then what is the point of iterating on your prototype? I will just directly tell, no, the idea of bicycle does not work because I simply cannot ride the bicycle on a slope, or I don't know, I hate riding bicycles. So I'm not a fan of your solution itself, which means you need to test the solution with a lot of people, get their feedback, and if it's the same answer that they're giving you, like you test with 50 to 100 people and 50 to 100 people give you the same feedback telling that nobody wants a bicycle to do grocery shopping, then you discard this idea. You need to go back to your brainstorming phase. So first, what you can do is you can already check what are the ideas that you have selected, because you have selected already 10 to 20 best ideas, and this is one of them you picked. You go back there, you check if any other idea can work out or not. And if you think any other idea as well is not going to work out properly, you do some other rounds of ideation. So you go back to your ideation session, you brainstorm different ideas, come up with a new solution, prototype the solution, and then once again take it to your testees and test the solution if this is going to help them or not. This is why you need to do rapid prototyping. So imagine if you are taking so much of time to build an actual bicycle, making it perfect, and at the end, your testees or users, they don't even like the idea. So what happens to this prototype? It's such a waste of time, waste of money. First thing, which I did not mention before, it's so much waste of money because you are now going to discard your prototype in case if your users are not liking it. And these points can be frustrating. You may think, I don't care what my customer user wants because it's just taking me too much of time. But if you come to this mindset, and at this point it will make you come to this mindset because you've worked so hard on your idea, it's almost like a baby for you, and it's so hard to kill your own baby. But if you are ready, if you have this mindset, and if you have the willpower to do it, then you are going to come up with better solutions for society, and of course it's a success for you as well. And you don't come up with a bad design like those Norman doors, which is useless and making every user or customer frustrated at the end. So yeah, after prototyping, we do the testing, and here I have given you some of my favorite books if you want to read more about design thinking itself. So this may help you a lot to get more insights about design thinking. This is called a design thinking playbook, where whatever I told you in this short session is like explained more in detail. And this is testing business ideas, which is the last part that I mentioned right now. So they have in this book, they have given you like a lot of short experiments that you can try out in order to test your prototype, which is very interesting. And this part is where I tell that at the end of design thinking, you know, after you have tested your prototype and your solution is like a very good one, your customers or users are happy with it, then you actually enter the lean startup part, where you kind of build, measure, and learn, which is you iterate on your prototype. You try to build a minimum viable product, you iterate on it, and in order to build a final prototype, which is a very high fidelity solution. For example, if you or let's take the bicycle example, like if the user or customer was very happy with a bicycle, then your job would have been to go into this lean startup cycle where you can improve better on your prototype and actually build a real bicycle which is of use and which can be sent into the market. So this would be like getting feedback from your users, customers, adding different features that they expect to the bicycle, and so on. So yeah, here it's basically iteration process in order to come up with the final best product. And I would say that's it. Thank you for your attention. I know it would have been a lot of information to process right now, but then this is just a starting point for you to get a glimpse about what design thinking is. And this is a very, very interesting topic. If you want to learn more about it, you can definitely learn more about it. And, if you want, it does not matter if you want to become like a UX designer or if you want to become a product manager in any company, this will be very helpful for you, be it whatever role you take up. So yeah, now we can go on to the Q&A session. So you can ask me any questions that you have about the session. Or you can also write it in the chat. Any specific questions regarding any specific part of the process, like regarding ideation or research, anything? Yeah, I do know Tamil. You can also ask me questions in Tamil. Okay. There is a question during a group discussion. How do you let the person know that their idea is not good without coming off as rude? Very good point. So since I told you, you aim more for collaboration and you need to have this mindset as yes and. First thing, if already everybody in your team has this mindset, nobody is going to take it in a wrong way if you're going to discard their idea. So you don't have to tell it to their face that no, this is not a good idea, but rather the one good thing about this design thinking process is you kind of read through the ideas, read everyone's ideas, and then you silently vote on the ideas. So when you vote on the ideas, you are definitely discarding the ones which are bad. I mean, even if the person who wrote that idea is very much in love with this idea and he votes on it, he will be getting only one vote from your team. So anyway, that idea is discarded, and you don't have to tell it directly to their face, because this is done silently in the voting process. But if you are in a discussion with each other, then you can tell with what I told, just tell them, yes, I agree with your idea, but I think based on my experience or based on the research that I've done, this is not a very good idea that we can proceed forward, or you can tell them it does not have a very good future or so. And I'm pretty sure they can definitely understand. I hope this answered you, Tarun. Any other questions? Okay, how do you implement design thinking in a group that is not familiar with the concept? This is also a very good question. So often if you see, so the design thinking workshops or design thinking sprints, it's always good, even if you know the concept, even if all 5 or 6 people know the concept, it is always good if you have a design thinking coach or moderator with you, because this person will facilitate the workshop for you with the time boxing and everything, and also teach you the concept. If nobody knows, if 2 people know and if 3 people does not know, he will guide you through the process or workshop. So these are called as design thinking sprints, which takes place for 3 to 4 hours. And we also often have the situation like we get teams from corporates who have no clue about design thinking. They have not worked with design thinking at all, but then their bosses kind of send them to us to come up with solutions using design thinking. So we kind of have one design thinking coach or a moderator who kind of tells them, okay, we will go from the problem to the solution, and we will facilitate the sprint or the workshop, basically telling them, now you need to do research, now you need to do ideation. We give them 10 minutes and we facilitate the workshop. So as I told you, it's important that you have this person, because this will be a neutral person, and who can also guide the team better. Any more questions? Thank you for your questions, Tarun. Okay, so another question, can design thinking work with any age? Of course, it can work with any age. There is no age limit for innovation or anything. Also, I would say in terms of adaptation or in terms of accepting the process or believing the process can differ in terms of age, because young people, we are open to try out new things. We are excited. We are just open, I would say. And we can, accept going back in the process, even if we are at the last point in the process. And this can differ a little bit with the age, because when you get older, or when we are working with corporates who are people with mid-age of 40s, 50s, then they tend to get frustrated when we go through the process step by step. And at the end, if we tell no, things are not working out, we need to go back, then they get a little bit frustrated. So this can differ, but we do have some people who are older and with a very open mindset, who are like crazy design thinkers, who who really want to try out the process and try out new things. So I would say it totally depends on the mindset and not the age itself. Next question. When we build a product, what should we aim for? High profit margin and low sales, or low profit margin, and that product could reach out everyone, which ethics suits best for a startup? So here, if you see, I would say, I wouldn't say you have, so with design thinking, it does not tell you anything about profit margin or so, but rather it tells you to think about a solution or idea that can give you a business. And then later on, the first step itself is to take out your product to the market, all right, and see if it's a success or not. Because when you take out your product to your market, it doesn't matter if it's of low cost, low profit margin or high profit margin. If the product is going to be a failure, if nobody likes the product, it doesn't matter if it's a low cost product or a high cost product. People are not going to buy your product if it's not going to solve their solution. So this is the first goal and first aim when you start with the design thinking process. So as I told you with the Oral-B example, they did bring out toothbrush to the market and they were making profit and they were doing good sales. But then in order to increase their profit margin, they went back to understand their problem better and they brought out a new product. So this should be the case. You bring out the product to the market, check if it's liked by everyone, if it's a success, and then later on, you either increase the price of your product or you create another version of your product and give it out to the market. So you need to understand that people are not going to buy based on your cost. Really, that's not the mindset of the customer or user, because you may find a lot of I don't know, there are these luxury brands which sell their products only for like high profits, like high costs. And why do people still buy them? It's just for the brand name and the quality of the product. The customers really like the quality of the product and they buy even if it's of high cost. And there are some low profit or low cost products which are still in market, which are successful, which people buy, not just because of the low cost, but also because people like to use the product. So here it comes back to the part where we tell it should be user-friendly, user-centric, and you design it for the user. Any other questions?
Hello, ma'am. Aarti here.
Yeah, yes, Aarti.
I just have a small question. Like, if design thinking is said to be a human-centric approach, like how will it affect the business agility? Like, how will it have a render an impact on business agility?
Sorry, business. What do you mean, Aarti?
Agility. I mean the.
Okay. You mean how does it make a business successful?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That is a very good question. So this is the mindset that we all are having, that if we make a human-centered solution, or if we come up with a user-centric solution, then it's not going to be a successful business for us, or it's not going to be a business friendly for the business owner itself. This is actually a wrong perception, because just think for once that if your customer or user is happy, and if your product is making a high sales, then it's a profit for your business, right? So how is it going to go in the opposite way? Why do you think this is not going to be business friendly, or it's going to make a poor business for you? I mean, you definitely cannot satisfy all the things that your customer wants, because if you ask your customer, so there's also this other quote which tells, if you ask your customer what they want, they will never know what they want. This is from the person from the Ford industry, the Ford cars, the manufacturer. He told, if I had asked my user or customer how they want to travel or something like that, they would have told me they wanted horse with 8 legs, or they wanted 4 horses to travel and not a car. So if you ask your user or customer what they exactly want, they will never know, and they are going to come up with 1,000 different features that they want in your iPhone or product that you give. So it's also important that you don't make it very, very customer centric, satisfying all the expectations, because this is definitely going to ruin your business then. But the part which actually satisfies the customer need needs to be there in your solution, which makes them happy. So in that case, then this is going to be a very good business opportunity for you, and yeah, it's going to be a good business for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rati. Okay, so another question. I've talked more about design thinking process, but what about the time management? So, Shakti, well, what do you mean by time management? So you mean when we are going through the process, or? Could you elaborate your question? I understand, like, it is a time consuming. Oh, yeah. When you go through the process, yes, it is time consuming. But this is why we also tell you, you need to be time boxed. You need to keep the time in mind. So, for example, if you are a person who is just working on your startup, then yeah, you have all the time you want, because you are just trying out, you are figuring out what to do, how to do. So you can extend your problem, researching your problem phase for 1 month or 2 months. But if it's the case of a corporate who is coming over for a 1-day design sprint, who wants to come up with a solution for their existing product which has a problem, then they're going to find solution in 1 day, 100%, because morning, this is like a 1-day design sprint. So morning, we start with the research of the problem. So the team who is working on this, they will do research about the problem very quickly. I mean, they will not definitely have time doing to do interviews or observation and immersion, but there are other research techniques as well, where they can do quick research. And after they do this research, we will quickly frame a problem statement, go through the geometry questions, we go into the ideation phase, and at the end of the day, they will be already having 3 to 4 ideas that they can possibly implement in their company or in their product that they have. And they will go with testing this to their user customer. This is what is called as, I think you would have heard as the beta version of the Apple softwares which come out, where you can test, where they actually give it for testing to you users. And when you are happy with your beta version, then Apple actually introduces the software itself. So this is how it is done. So it's up to you how you manage your time. So you can take all your 3 months or 6 months to go through the process, or you can also do it in 1 day. Will our IT culture support the design thinking mindset? Shruti, do you mean in the company that you will be working, like in IT companies, or how do you mean? Okay. So in the company that you are working, definitely design thinking can help you, even if it's an IT company. It does not matter, and it does not have to be, you have to be part of the innovation team or so. So design thinking can actually be applied in your day-to-day life as well. You don't have to be thinking, oh, I have to be part of the innovation team in order to do design thinking, or in order to have the design thinking mindset. First of all, so I haven't worked in an IT company, but just with an assumption, I'm telling you that, for example, I'm having a team with whom I'm working on a product. And when you are working on your product, when you have this design thinking mindset, you will eventually think about different ideas that could be added more to your product, or how could your product be improved. And this can be definitely taken to your team or to your team leads, or however, and this is going to have an impact on your team. So this can be used anywhere, even in educational sectors, anywhere. It does not have a specific industry. So as I told you, this has been used in several industries, regardless of what they're producing. Next question: how is UI and UX related to design thinking? UI and UX plays a major role in the part where you think about the desirability of your product, because as I told you, you need to build human-centered or customer-centric solutions, which is desirable by your customer. So once you have tested your prototype, or once you have tested your solution, and if your customer is happy with your solution, then goes the role where UI and UX plays a role there, because then you try to make your prototype better. And in this case, UI and UX will play a major role where you focus more on the desirability of the product to make it better. How can I make my product better so that my customer is going to like it? It also starts depending on how your app is going to look like, how you want to scroll, how your user want to scroll through it, and so on. But it's definitely not at the starting, or even in the second part of the process. It comes after testing, I would say. Once you are sure about your solution. Any other questions?
That's it, I guess. I'll jump in right now because already we are past time. So we can close it up, I guess. Students, do you have any questions? How can we code our lab? Okay, we have one last question. Yeah.
I really cannot answer this question because I'm not into coding. And design thinking is also not about coding, I would say. So that is up to you, how you want to code your UI or UX file.
Fine. Okay. So yeah, thank you, Gayatri. So first of all, the session was wonderful. So the way you put things together and the way you conveyed, it's really super useful. And even for a layman, it's easy to understand and put it to practice. It's really commendable. And thanks for that. And I'm myself really excited to put these things into the product development cycle and see how I can improvise the existing process and come up with new innovative ideas. So even students are pretty much excited. I already got a very good feedback on the session. Thank you for that. And we also have Timothy here. So a few words from Timothy. Timothy is our co-director, co-founder, and chief IoT engineer for Nonary Labs. So actually, Timothy sir arranged this session for us. So thank you so much, and a few words from Timothy as well. Timothy? Are you there?
Yeah, hi Navneet. Able to hear me?
Yeah. You're audible.
Yeah, Gayatri, thank you for addressing the students. Once again, we are happy that you accepted our invitation in spite of your busy schedule. And in the early morning hours, you are able to address our students. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you again on the subsequent process so that we are able to build startups in the future. Thank you, Gayatri.
So, thank you to Timothy and Navneet as well. It was a very good session, and it's my pleasure to be here and also support the students. And I already told Timothy that it was like I was really happy to know that such a initiative is going on in Coimbatore, and this design thinking process or the subject itself is going on there. So was really happy to help today, and of course looking forward to collaborate with you in future as well.
Yeah, sure, Gayatri. Looking forward. So visit our campus sometime when you come to Coimbatore. And
Sure.
so take care, stay safe, and thank you. We'll connect again. We'll connect in the backstage. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And thank you to everyone here as well for your patient attention and for your lovely questions. Have a good day then. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good day.